jump right into what we're here to talk about, the meat and potatoes of the podcast, Wicked, which also is something of a remake. And honestly, I don't mind musical remakes because I love musicals, and I feel like we should just show musicals in theaters, like the live recordings of musicals. But Hollywood and Broadway for some reason can't get together to make that work, so we're just going to do the remakes. And I'm not complaining about this because this is actually really good and I loved it. So guys, we're going to go ahead and jump into Wicked. Is a 2024 musical movie directed by Jon M. and is based off of the stage musical of the same name. Is the first part of a two-part film adaptation, and it came out November 2022 and 2024. It stars Cynthia Erivo as Elphaba, Ariana Grande as Glinda, and the movie is set in the land of Oz before Dorothy's arrival in The Wizard of Oz, and it follows the friendship between Elphaba, the future Wicked Witch of the West, and Glinda, who becomes Glinda the Good. Now, I was very happy and excited to hear that this remake was happening. I did see people online, obviously, critiquing it because everybody wants to be a hater online, and me, I was a hater a little bit as well because I was kind of like, I'm not sure if we're going to watch Wicked. I'm not sure if we're going to see it. And then I saw so many people have so many positive responses to it, mainly theater kids. And I was like, all right, you know what? If those freaks like it, I guess I'll like it too. And I went to go see it and I cried. I loved it. I loved it. I wish I went to rewatch it, but time did not permit it. But I'm glad I did go see it because it was absolutely stunning. Tristan, what did you think of Wicked when you went to go see it?
I loved Wicked, absolutely enjoyed it. It's so funny because the first time I became aware of Wicked, this was years and years ago, in the 2000s, there was a documentary, and I'm blanking on the name of the documentary, but it was following four musicals. It's three or four musicals, and I remember Wicked was one of them, and Caroline or Change, which is another popular musical. And it was just following, they were all, the four musicals are all brand new. And so I remember seeing, that was my first introduction to Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth. So watched the documentary, enjoyed it, put it out of my mind. And over the years, I would hear about Wicked and how well it was doing, how it was one of the biggest Broadway shows. But then Glee, when Glee came out, if you were even familiar with that show in passing, they loved Wicked. So many of the Wicked songs are on there. Both Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel were on there. Yep. So it's my interest in Wicked was building for all these years. So when the movie, when it was announced that they were doing a live musical, they're doing a movie musical of it, I was like, okay, I got to check that out. And it was so much better than I could have ever imagined. So it's funny because I was telling someone, I don't know why I thought I knew the story of Wicked. I knew the part about, I knew it was about Glinda and the Wicked Witch of the West, Elphaba becoming friends, but there's so much more to that. Mm-hmm. And so I was so pleasantly surprised, stuff with the talking animals, and that was kind of a metaphor for discrimination and racism and things like that. So yeah, so that was a long-winded way. It was my long-winded way of saying I absolutely loved that movie. Both actresses did such a great job. Ariana Grande, I remember when I heard that she was cast as Glinda, I was like, oh, okay. I was really hating her. I was like, oh, cast not who I thought they would have cast. But she was amazing. She did such a good job. So yeah, sorry, it's my long-winded way. This is my long-winded way of saying I really, really enjoyed the movie.
Yeah, I do want to say for the talking animals, I do remember it being part of Wicked, but it's clear that they kind of expanded on it more. Mm-hmm. I think that one of the critiques people had when it was first announced is the fact that it was going to be two-parter, because Wicked the musical is a comfortable, I think, 2-hour run, or maybe even a little bit longer, the musical, or the Broadway musical. So finding out that the movie is going to be over 2 hours long and it's only part one, a lot of people are like, why is it going on for so long? What is up with the runtime? But besides the fact that the beginning scene, is it drawn out a little bit? Yes, but you have to establish the characters and everything. And it's clear that Jon M wanted us to get to know the characters more and spend more time with them and connect with them and have a deeper relationship with their personalities and understand their motivations and stuff. So the talking animals part, it is in the musical, but it's clear that he expanded on it a bit more so that it could connect with Elphaba's character and also connect with like the wizard and of course like the underlying themes of what's going on in Oz and what's going on in their culture, in their society, and the things that people want to like sweep under the rug, and how Elphaba is also like kind of affected by it just because she doesn't stand for injustice. And on Ariana being casted as Glinda, I was also kind of hesitant towards it because Cynthia Erivo for me makes sense. Okay, first of all, she was in The Color Purple on Broadway. She is a phenomenal singer. She has an amazing voice. I thought, of course, Cynthia Erivo is going to be cast. And when I heard that Ariana Grande was going to be cast as Glinda, in my head, I thought, like, well, why is that? Because for like, I love Ariana Grande. I've loved her music since forever. Like, I've been following her obviously since Victorious. And when I saw that she was cast as Glinda, I just thought, like, maybe we should also go with another actress who is, you know, who's on Broadway, musically trained. And it's not like Ariana Grande can't sing. Of course she could sing. She could sing down. But I guess in my mind, when I first saw that she was casted, it was like, oh, they're doing this for, like, they want her stans to watch the movie. You know?
Yeah.
That's kind of how I felt. But she has this very charismatic, and she's very funny. Like, she's very goofy.
Yeah.
And she adds a lot to Glinda's character. It's very different from Kristen Chenoweth, who embodies Glinda's femininity and, like, how she's petite and sometimes funny, but in, like, a way that is... It's not on purpose, you know, because she's kind of goofy, but she's only goofy because she's so sheltered. So when she encounters someone who's not like her, she'll say things that are kind of funny. It's like, girl, I know you did not mean to say that. So you kind of like laugh at her because she doesn't get the joke. She is a joke. But Ariana Grande's Glinda is comedic in a way where, like, she is charming. She's funny, and she knows how to be funny, and she knows how to bring people in because she has that charisma that's just pouring out of her, like, pores. So I was pleasantly surprised to see how Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande really bonded as the two leads in the film, and seeing them bond also on the press tour because they seem to be very close, and I was like, oh, this is so cute. And I think that's also what influenced me to watch the movie, or like really, really try and watch the movie, because when I saw them in interviews and on press tours, I was like, you see, this is the kind of chemistry that I need in my leads.
Chemistry.
Yes. And they had it.
They did. It's funny. You know, people were like mocking them, or like making fun of them, because like they would have these very deep emotional moments in their interviews, and then you go watch that movie, and you're like, I understand why, like shit like that, because they brought all of that to to the screen, to those two characters. So chemistry, in all caps. Like you said, this is what we need going forward. If if I don't see these leads in interviews crying and comforting each other, and I was like, I don't want it. That's what they made me realize. If they're not bringing what Cynthia and Ariana brought to this, I don't want it. Keep it, because this used to be like. I'm laughing, but like, no, seriously, this should be the standard going forward. Like, be more mindful of your casting. Like, when you're these two leads, like, again, just like they played so well off of each other. They both just brought so much depth and so much heart to their roles. And again, you could see that genuine connection between the two. And it was really just beautiful. Like, that in and of itself was just emotional to watch, because having seen the interviews before going into the movie, I was like, oh, like that, I'm going to cuss, but I was like, oh crap, like this is real. I cannot praise those two enough individually and just together.
Yeah. And the great thing about Cynthia and Ariana is that, like, there are so many moments when they're filming that were kind of like off the cuff. Like when they're trying to leave or escape from the wizard, and one of the soldiers grabs Glinda's leg. She's like, "Let go of my leg! Give me my leg!" Like, that moment is literally her, like, off the cuff being like just herself, which I love, and I think it's so funny. And then, like, the scene when they're dancing at the it was like the Oz Dust Ballroom, which originally in the musical was, I think, a student hangout, but instead they kind of changed it so it would be like an underground club. But when Glinda joins her in the dance, Ariana said in an interview that she didn't really practice the dance, because she wanted it to look like it was off the cuff. She wanted to look like she is going off of what Elphaba is going off of, like what Elphaba is
Yeah.
doing.
So she's genuinely like learning it in that moment. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
you know, there's a moment when, like, they're kind of, like, together. And when the camera turns to Elphaba, there's, like, a tear that goes down her face. And then
Yeah.
Glinda wipes it away so perfectly. And they also said, I think, I'm not sure who it was exactly, but it was someone on the production who said that, like, that happened in one of the rehearsals. And that Ariana also wiped that tear away in the rehearsal. And they didn't think that would happen again, but thankfully lightning struck, and it's one of those like very emotional vulnerable scenes because like they're so connected, and because like the film obviously centered around their budding relationship, to see them form this friendship in that moment and to see Glinda be so gentle towards her in this act of like extreme vulnerability, it's like it's shocking. Like when she started dancing, I'm not gonna lie, I got secondhand embarrassment in the theater. I was like, "Oh my gosh, girl, go sit down. What are we doing?" But then when she joined her, I was like, "Oh, I might start crying." And it was so beautiful to watch and to see them like become friends afterwards. It was amazing. I loved it.
Yes. Yes. Same. That scene was just so amazing, and I remember. Of course, the theater was quiet, but I feel like during that scene, my theater got super quiet. Like you could have heard a mouse, like what is it saying? You could have heard a mouse piss on cotton. I feel like all of us in the theater were like holding
What?
our breath.
You can hear a mouse
Yeah,
do
like
what?
a mouse piss on cotton because it was
I've
just so
never,
quiet.
I've never heard that before. I've
Oh
never
god!
heard that
But like
before.
again, but we were all just kind of holding our breath, like what's about to happen? What's about to happen? What's about to happen? It was just so like I love that Glinda just got it in that moment. Like, okay, because especially because Madame Morrible had told her like, hey, she wants you to she wants me to train you, but that was also connected to because Glinda was showing kindness toward Elphaba's sister. So like just how like these series of events kind of led to them befriending each other and developing a genuine bond. Like it was just a beautiful scene to watch. Finally, kind of watch that happen. Um, yeah, and like so that was great. And then of course that leads to what that night, and then that morning that next scene kind of leads to her singing "Popular," which I just really loved. I've always loved that song. But I like how she befriends Elphaba, tries to take her under her wing. And I hate to even say she tries to take her under her wing because one thing I want to point out, I never felt like after that Glinda saw herself up here and Elphaba was down here. Even though Papa is saying, I'm going to remake you, I still felt like in some way Glinda still saw them as equals after that. But I feel like just point that out because when you think about what she's saying in the song "Popular," it's like I need to remake you, I need to help you get on my level. But it's ironic to me because I felt like she saw her as an equal after that. Maybe I'm like reading too much into it or something, but I don't know. Anyway, "Popular," one of my favorite songs. So yeah,
I also love Popular, and I love what Ariana did with it because I feel like a lot of people, when they're watching Wicked, even before Wicked came out, they're already judging it based off of Wicked the musical. You know, because when the poster for Wicked came out, and because Cynthia Erivo's kind of facial expressions looks different from the iconic Wicked poster, a lot of people are like editing it and like photoshopping it to make it look like the original poster. And she spoke out and said like, this is disrespectful, it's not right, because obviously the movie poster has to look different from the musical because it is an adaptation and they're trying to do their own retelling of the story. And I love what they did with like so many of the songs. Like Dancing Through Life is not that long of a song in the musical. It's pretty short, but like they expanded it and they did a whole musical number so that people could be a little bit more involved. Like Fierro, he is a lot more expanded as a character. Even like Bowen Gang's character, a lot of the things he says are kind of like off the cuff and improv, but including this into the movie, gives Ariana another friend and like another grounding kind of like, I'm not sure what to say this, but like something that grounds her character, to see that like she's not just this prissy popular girl, but she has friends. Like she has someone she talks to, and then she has Elphaba, so that it doesn't seem like she's just popular and like alone or like a solitary character, but like someone who's popular as someone who can like make connections with other people. And with her doing Popular, like the song, her whole dance number in the hallway was so funny because when she did that high kick, that was improvised as well. And John Chu was like, "Girl, keep that in," and she did.
Yeah.
And her singing is so light and airy, which is different from Kristen Chenoweth, who has like the very typical like soprano Broadway voice. And Ariana Grande just brought like this like airiness to the song that I loved. And I loved the little like runs that she did in the song. I think that was amazing. And I think that she did such a sensational job, really.